I'm Carrie Roan with Fasig Brooks, and I'm joined by my law partner, Dana Brooks.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Come Back Stronger. Dana, I wanted to ask you, we're a personal injury law firm.
Right.
Explain to us why we're doing this Come Back Stronger show and why we aren't doing a law show anymore, because I get a lot of questions about that.
Well, most people know we've done law shows in the past, and that's great, and we're always available at Fasig Brooks to answer any legal questions you have. Just FasigBrooks.com, Dana or Jimmy or Carrie at FasigBrooks.com will always answer your legal questions, always. But we started talking to people, and we were talking among ourselves at our partner meetings, and we have all these wonderful clients who have these great Come Back Stronger stories, and that's what motivates us to keep helping all these people. And so we thought, what if we shared some of these stories with other people, and what if we go out into the world really and find people who have just come out of the worst conditions possible, things that they never expected to have to deal with, and then next thing you know, not only are they better than they were before, but they're helping other people get through it, and they're guiding people like we try to guide our clients. So to me, it's just a great fit, and we've had such an overwhelmingly positive response to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people ask what the Come Back Stronger tagline is about.
Yeah.
My dad being one of them, and I said, it's really about helping people find their strength when they're down. We deal with this a lot with our personal injury clients, people who've been in auto accidents or trip and falls and have catastrophic injuries, or who have lost a loved one, and we're there through that journey with them. And we're hand in hand partners with them to help them through their case come back stronger. And it's just really neat to interview these really interesting guests to listen to their stories.
Yeah, and so I hope if you know of a great Come Back Stronger story, you will reach out to us, FasigBrooks.com. Join some of our Facebook groups. We've got a Come Back Stronger Facebook group. Carrie and I have something we're super turned on and passionate about, and that is our Empower Plant. That is all about empowered women, empowering women and girls, and supporting the men who support us. So if you know of somebody who's a great candidate for Come Back Stronger, reach out to us. We'd love to have them on.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention is that we're a personal injury law firm, but we help clients with all kinds of legal cases. We refer out to family law lawyers or estate planning lawyers. So
sometimes criminal defense.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things when your client base is the entire universe, not just heads of corporations or very important people in society. Whenever the entire world is your client base, which it is for us, you find yourself needing to shepherd them through a lot of legal processes and just sometimes family issues and self-esteem issues, life issues, starting a business, building your life back, and getting the life that you've always wanted. So to me, it's the most rewarding job I could even imagine, and I love that we have the freedom to turn it into exactly what we want it to be through things like this show, Come Back Stronger. So
I love when people call us with all kinds of questions. I really do. And like you said, shepherding them through different things in life.
Yeah. So we'll be right back right after this. I like that people who don't have the money to pay for lawyers, they can come to a contingency fee lawyer, someone like us who only gets paid when we recover for them, and they can go toe-to-toe with giants.
You are actually just coming to us, not paying us anything, and if we're successful in getting you money, we get paid. And the more money we get for you, the more money we get. So our interests are totally aligned.
And it's a wonderful system, because otherwise, how many people can afford to go hire a lawyer by the hour just so they can have their day in court? Right. That would be almost no one. That would mean justice is only available in America to rich people otherwise. But the contingency fee agreement allows everybody to go in on equal footing. It levels the playing field. But to me, it's saying we're equal. Okay, just because you have all those resources behind you doesn't mean I have to take whatever you give me. I've got a lawyer that I can afford who can stand up to you on the same playing field, equal ground in front of a judge, and I will get treated the same way those big corporations will be treated.
So Dana, our first guest today is Kathleen Hampton.
Yeah.
This is a tearjerker. It's a very traumatic story where she lost her daughter in a car accident.
It's hard to listen to, but Kimmy Hogan, our law partner, she does a good job with that. Take a look.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
So we've asked you on to tell us the story of how you lost your daughter, Debbie, at a young age, and how you've channeled that grief to be able to help young women in our community at the PACE Center for Girls.
Yes. So, unfortunately, my daughter, Debbie, was in a car accident, and it was on February 12th of 2018. She was coming home from a party. She had been drinking, and we come to find out later after the accident she wasn't wearing her seatbelt, which is odd because she made sure that everyone wore her seatbelt, or she wouldn't take off when she was driving. She'd just make sure everyone had her seatbelt on. But anyway, this is what happens with most parents when they get terrible news. Is a uniformed police officer showed up at our door at around 4:30. The accident happened at 3:30 in the morning, and it was less than a mile from our house. It had been raining, and what we're figuring after investigation is that she was coming around the bend. It was dark and it had been raining, and she must have tried to divert from an animal crossing in the road, because there were tire tracks that showed that she wasn't paying attention. She may have dropped her cell phone, who knows, and she hit the street sign, tried to overcorrect, and hit a utility pole, cracked it in half. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so she was ejected through the windshield. Her car kept going and tumbling many times, and it looked like afterwards, it was on the news, it was just squished together. So even if she had worn her seatbelt, she probably wouldn't have survived. I feel like that her soul and spirit left her.
Yeah.
And that the neighbors who were in the area, and of course it was dark, heard a crack. They called for the utility company, and they called fire and rescue, whoever comes out, I guess, when a utility pole's cracked. He didn't go outside to see that there was somebody in an accident. So she,
It's all right.
she was laying there for a while before they showed up. But it makes me feel better knowing that her spirit left her body.
Mm-hmm.
And they arrived, saw that there was a young girl, and they immediately took her to TMH emergency. We drove to the emergency room, and they quickly brought us into a private room and shut the door so we knew it was bad.
Yeah.
Doctor came in, the neurosurgeon, top neurosurgeon, can't remember his name. Everything kind of just, time slowed down. They say that you just hear mumbling, and that's really all that happened after they told me that, or my husband and I, that she had had a severe brain and head injury. She probably won't wake up, and she probably won't survive. And we talked about it, and they said, you have another option, but I don't recommend it. With my experience, no one survives this. And if she did, she'd be on life support, and she would be a vegetable.
Yeah.
So it's your decision. Family members came. We wanted to see her. She was in the emergency room, and she was in really bad shape. I took a towel and I wiped her face to get the dirt off her face. And I told her how much we loved her. Because I knew she was in the room somewhere, but I couldn't see her. And then family came, we prayed. She was transferred to ICU. One of our friends called everybody we know. The waiting room was packed with people after an hour. And I asked the nurse to call the chaplain so we could all hold hands around her. I called my daughter who lives in Austin. We held the phone next to her. She said goodbye. And fortunately, I'm stronger than my husband, and I kind of directed everything, which is my nature. And we told everybody to say goodbye, and everyone left. We sat with Debbie and talked to her for a little while, and then I looked at my husband and I said, I remember she's a donor. When she got her license, she was so excited, and they asked her if she wanted to be a donor, and she said yes. She had no idea that a year later they had to make good on that promise. So for probably 48 hours we waited for the coordinator of organ donoring to decide and find in their database recipients rather. So we filled out all the paperwork, and we basically said, take whatever you think you need. And on February 14th, we followed her down to surgery and said goodbye. And they took her heart and her kidneys, her pancreas, her liver, skin, bones, and her corneas.
Wow.
So there's people out there that are benefiting from the gift that she gave them. It was a tough couple of months, but we made it through it. We have a strong family. My husband was wonderful. He still is. And so I feel like Debbie is my hero because she did give back, and she helped someone else survive who maybe would not have had that chance because she was young.
Thank you for sharing all that with us. We are going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we want to hear all about Debbie and then how you have used what you learned through Debbie and use that grief to now do what you do at the Faith Center for Girls.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just every parent's worst nightmare.
It is.
You can't watch that without getting upset and emotional.
You can't, but whenever you know that the love you had for your child continues on in the gifts that she has given to other people so that they may live, that's pretty compelling. So
It is. I like the fact that she said that her daughter was her hero because she gave back even through her death.
yeah.
That's just, it's a horrible story, but I like the next segment that's coming up with respect to the how Kathleen used it to come back stronger and give back to her own community.
Yeah, we'll be right back after this break. When you come into my firm, you see a lot of faces that look like yours. You see a lot of people that had the same problem before they got to work. A lot of people who left kids with mismatched shoes and a lunch bag, you screaming, just because you had an appointment you had to make. We get you. We get you.
You have to go to a lawyer that will understand your story as a woman. Because women have different stories than men do, and that's just a fact of life. And if you're a woman that's been injured, either through a slip and fall or a trip and fall in an auto accident, you have to go to a lawyer that's going to understand what your daily existence was like before, what it's like now, what the injury means to your entire family, and what you need to do to come back and be where you were before, and even come back and be stronger than where you were before. They just need to have the courage to pick up the phone, because we are going to take the burden of this accident or you being hurt off of your shoulders. We're going to put it on our shoulders. Right. So you don't have to worry about it. Exactly. You can worry about everything else in your life, but not this accident. We're going to worry about that for you.
So we're back for the second half of the show with Miss Kathleen, and we're going to hear Kimmy talk about what she's done to parlay her daughter's death and the trauma and the tragedy that followed from that into her service to the community.
Yeah.
Tell us about Debbie.
Well, Debbie was her own person. She loved to have fun. She had this guttural laugh. In fact, I have a videos that has her laugh. I love to play it every so often. But she had thick, red, curly hair. My hair is curly, but can you imagine thicker? And she grew it down to the back, middle of her back, and it was red, like copper red. Blue eyes. She loved her friends, she loved her dogs, and she loved her family. So she was full of life. When she turned 12 and hit puberty, everything pretty much changed. She was diagnosed many years after with bipolar disorder and had anger issues. She was fighting her own demons that she had no control over, because bipolar disorder is a chemical imbalance in your brain that you can try and control, but you can have outbursts and you can have addiction issues. When she was younger and she got on with the wrong crowd of kids, They introduced her to marijuana and alcohol. Her grades started slipping. She became defiant. We took her to therapists and psychotherapists and tried to get her on medication and diet. And it was a long 7 years. Towards the end, she got involved with crime and was arrested because she showed her behind to a law enforcement officer and accidentally hit him with her hand. So she was taken to juvenile detention overnight, and we spent almost 2 years on probation and going through the juvenile justice system. So I have experience with that situation. And again, I think that her life would have been a lot better if she hadn't had to deal with that, and we tried everything to advocate for her.
And that's what you do now at the PACE Center for Girls, is you help young women like Debbie go through difficult times and try to come out better on the other end. Tell us what you do at PACE.
So my title is Development Director. I have probably 20 years experience in non-for-profit, and what I love to do is raise funds and educate the public about the services the nonprofit provides, or how they can benefit from joining the organization. PACE Center for Girls is an organization that provides education, counseling, and training to young women ages 11 to 18 that live in low-income communities. There are 21 centers in Florida. We call them centers, but there's 23 communities, and we're expanding nationwide.
Wonderful.
There are no other organizations like it. And what I knew about PACE when we were going through issues with Debbie, because she was doing terrible in school. I looked into it, but at that point, she was 16 and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get my GED. So we got with TCC. They have a program that PACE uses as well to help girls study, take their GED, and go on to changing the trajectory of their future. So that's what I do. I'll take a step back. I found out about PACE, I knew about PACE, but shortly after Debbie passed away, I reevaluated my life, and I knew that I had this experience and I loved doing it. I knew I was good at it, and I was looking for another position where I could help someone, where I felt like I could get up in the morning, feel good about what I'm doing, that I'm changing the life of someone or helping contribute to their life. And it just so happened a year later, PACE was looking for a development director. It was a new position. They had secured the funding for the salary. I applied. It took 3 interviews and testing and all of that, because PACE is under the guise of the Department of Juvenile Justice. They see the advantage of the girls attending this program, staying out of trouble with the juvenile justice system, staying on track with their education, and changing their future for the better. It's a proven program. So after 3 months, they offered me the position, and ever since April of 2019, I've been advocating for these young girls, because these are girls that are going through the same challenges that Debbie went through. Mental illness, self-harm, suicide, sexual assault. And these girls also are living in low-income communities in Leon County. So there are 70 girls right now at PACE, and that's the maximum that we take, but it's free. And it makes a difference in every girl's lives. So I do this every day in Debbie's memory. And hopefully I can help some of these girls, and I feel like I have. I've kept in touch with some of the girls that have graduated, and there are a couple of girls at PACE that come into my office and give me a hug every day with their masks on.
I love it. I love it. I know it took so much strength for you to come and talk with us about Debbie and everything here today. I know it's important to you to get out and talk about it. Tell me how that's helped you move forward with dealing with the loss of Debbie.
Every parent's worst nightmare is losing their child. They're not supposed to die before you do. And I feel talking about it and working at PACE and helping these girls I'm helping the girls in some manner, but hopefully with this story, I can help other parents who have lost a child, that it will get better. You will hold on to this grief the rest of your life, but you have to find a way to turn it around, because your child who's in heaven wants you to live a happy life. They want you to take what has happened to you and find the power in it. And that's what your program does, is to come back stronger. I've become incredibly resilient, and I know that I'm doing the right thing. And I feel like she looks at me every day and says, and can say to herself and show me that I'm where I need to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story
Thank
with
you.
us. We really appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm a little emotional after that one.
How could you not be?
It's really hard to talk about it, but you know what I love about what she's saying is that you have to find the power and the strength through the tragedy to move on and do something about it and do something better.
Yeah, and that's obviously part of her ministry, her mission, but her also just getting through the day. You know, just remembering, I'm doing this for Debbie. Debbie wants me to be happy. Debbie wants me to help other girls like Debbie. Debbie wants to make sure other girls have advocates who love them and who are there for them, even when they've had some bad times. It's real easy to give up on people whenever they make it harder to love them. And the real strength comes from working through those things together. And coming out on the other side. You come back stronger, they come back stronger, you can help so many other people.
That's right.
So we'll be right back after this. This is the most rewarding job. I tell people, anybody knows about me in my past, I was a social worker, and I loved the spirit of the job. I loved the mission, but I felt like I couldn't do as much for them as I wanted to do. You meet your client where they are. You know, you meet them where they are, not where you want them to be, not where you want them to get it together and come into your lovely office and act appropriately. You know, sometimes I have to go to your house so you can be real, so you can show me, so you can break down. I don't mind doing that. That's part of the process. But the more I can do that, the more you do feel better. And like, you can be somebody who can go into any office at any time and maintain your composure, because you were able to be as vulnerable as you needed to be with somebody that you needed to trust to get you through this. And once I do that and I get them on the other side of it, it finally occurs to them, it's like a light bulb goes off. It finally occurs to them that Dana didn't do this. I did this. I got myself here.
Dana, you know, she obviously suffered a really horrific tragedy with the loss of her daughter. And I think that what people need to understand is that tragedy occurs in many different ways, many different forms. It can be relatively small, you know, the loss of a job transitioning into a new job. The loss of a best friend, you know, different ways. So I think we can all learn something from this story with respect to how to overcome different tragedies that we have in our own lives.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about bringing these stories to people is it shows that grief comes in all kinds of forms. Challenges come in all kinds of forms. They hit all kinds of people. There are not people who have made it and so their life is easy and they're just skating through it. That never happens. There is no finish line. There are people like Kathleen and Debbie who have a real difficult time, real struggles. Nothing's easy. And then next thing you know, it's just over. And so you're left just saying, okay, now what do I do? What do I make of this? And you could either give into it and let it defeat you, or you could decide, this is an opportunity for me to make some sense out of things that never made sense to me before, and funnel this energy, this grief, this rage, this, you know, all the five stages of grief that you hear about from Kubler-Ross. Channel those things into something that is going to be helpful and good to other people. And I could see that as a healing coping mechanism, saying, I want to make something good out of this.
Well, I think it's important to not judge a book by its cover, right?
No.
Because people like you walk around and you look beautiful and you look like you've got everything put together, and a successful businesswoman and a law firm owner and one of the best lawyers in Tallahassee, but you might be suffering some tragedy and some grief on your own. I mean, you couldn't tell that from Kathleen just by looking at her.
No, and you know, a lot of people struggle with depression that you don't see. Sometimes it's just a low grade, like dysthymic disorder, just I don't enjoy life like other people do, that kind of thing. But they get up, they go to work every day, they look right, they look presentable, they have relationships, people rely on them, they meet those expectations, but are they really living their best lives? And sometimes you have to peel back a layer. Like Kathleen looked like one polished woman.
Yes.
She looked like she had it together. She looks like somebody who would be a director of a major, organization, but she's got that deep pain inside. So I think that's a lesson: is let's don't presume to know anything about someone just because of their outward appearance.
Right.
But wow, do I love Pace. This is not the first time they've come up on this show,
Yeah.
and you know how turned on I am about women and girls. So
Yeah.
anybody, any
Yeah.
resource out there that helps them, I love it.
Well, and so let me ask you a question. It's a personal question.
Sure.
Have you been through a tragedy? And if so, what have you done to climb out of that tragedy and become stronger individually?
That's a funny word, tragedy, because that's very unique to the person. What may be a tragedy to me, somebody else may look at as a setback. I've certainly not lost my daughter, so that's a tragedy. And there certainly is no competition, who's hurting the worst. But for me, what I've always done whenever we've lost people in our family or I've suffered personal loss is I do let myself feel it. I used to not. I used to just plow through and just keep going, be Dana, lead, take care of it for everybody else. And now, as I've gotten older, I said, you know what, this really is horrible, and I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to live in this moment. I'm going to wallow in it. I'm going to be pitiful. I'm going to be pathetic. And then after a time, I decide, okay, it's time to straighten up and let's go make some good out of this and let's go help some people. But it's okay to just say, this completely sucks and I need a minute.
Right. And I think what you've done so successfully is you have funneled your energy into our law firm. And by doing so, you help so many people. Just like Kathleen is helping so many people with Pace Center for Girls and so many families. You're doing the same thing with a law firm. All the lawyers at Fasig Brooks are.
Yeah.
But I think that's how you've turned your loss into success, or your tragedies into success.
Well, I had an opportunity to be a leader, and I never expected I'd be in that position.
Yeah.
And then once I was, I realized, wow, I have a lot of influence. I have a lot of power. I can create a firm. Jimmy and I create this firm, and we lead, and then we draw people like you. So I just appreciate the opportunity to come see you, and I hope if you have a Come Back Stronger story, you will reach out to us at FasigBrooks.com. We'll see you next time. I like that people who don't have the money to pay for lawyers, they can come to a contingency fee lawyer, someone like us who only gets paid when we recover for them, and they can go toe-to-toe with giants.
You are actually just coming to us, not paying us anything, and if we're successful in getting you money, we get paid. And the more money we get for you, the more money we get. So our interests are totally aligned.
And it's a wonderful system, because otherwise, how many people can afford to go hire a lawyer by the hour just so they can have their day in court? Right. That would be almost no one. That would mean justice is only available in America to rich people otherwise. But the contingency fee agreement allows everybody to go in on equal footing. It levels the playing field. But to me, it's saying we're equal. Okay, just because you have all those resources behind you doesn't mean I have to take whatever you give me. I've got a lawyer that I can afford who can stand up to you on the same playing field, equal ground in front of a judge, and I will get treated the same way those big corporations will be treated.